All right, there we go. All right, people, my name is Tim Black. Welcome back to the Tim Black Show. This is a special broadcast because we got a breaking news event that I must bring to you right away. It's about the Oklahoma City and the ruling of the Supreme Court that decided that they would not honor the survivors of the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre that took place in 1921. Three of the survivors brought a lawsuit. In this lawsuit, they sought damages in their lives, in their families' lives. And the Supreme Court decided no. The city is not liable for it. The city can't find a remedy for it. For some reason, the city doesn't feel that it's accountable. It has a way to measure the accountability of a city that allowed over 300 citizens, Black citizens, to be slaughtered. Not to mention all the others businesses were burned to the ground. Not to mention all the ones that were ran out of town and left everything that they had, as a white mob descended upon the town, rioted, ransacked, stole, broke in, vandalized, took off with everything that was owned by these Black folks. This massacre, which is known as the Tulsa Race Riot, wasn't a race riot. It was a massacre. That's what it was. So just to make sure that we get all the facts that are necessary to kind of understand what's happening here, I'm going to make sure I go through what we know at this point, okay? So bear with me. As I stated, the Oklahoma Supreme Court Wednesday dismissed a lawsuit by survivors of the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre. It dampens the hope of advocates for racial justice that the city would make financial amends for one of the worst single acts of violence against Black people in the U.S. history that left as many as 300 people dead in a once thriving district in smoldering ashes. The 9-member court upheld the decision made by a district court judge in Tulsa last year, ruling that the plaintiffs' grievances about the destruction of the Greenwood District, better known as Black Wall Street, although it was legitimate, it did not fall within the scope of the state's public nuisance statute. Plaintiffs did not point to any physical injury to property in Greenwood, rendering it uninhabitable. That could be resolved by the way of injunction or other civil remedy. That doesn't make sense. The court wrote in its decision, today we hold that the relief is not possible under any set of facts that could be established consistent with the plaintiff's allegations. Messages left Wednesday with the survivor's attorney were not immediately returned. The city said in the statement that it respects the court's decision, affirms the significance of the work that the city continues to do. I don't really care what the city has to say. I'm going to care what the survivors have to say. The suit was an attempt to force the city of Tulsa and others to make recompense or reparation for the destruction of the once thriving Black district by a white mob back in 1921. On May 31st and June 1st, the white mob, including some people, hastily deputized by authorities. Cops made white mob people temporary cops to aid in the destruction of the town, of all the Black people in the town. These are state employees who did this. You know, sort of like when the cops, just a point here. Just routinely, like when cops, in many of these cases, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, numerous cases, where cops overstep their they violate the constitutional rights of citizens, and then the state ends up paying. Same thing. These were cops. Wasn't just random knights of the KKK. Okay, so I want to make that point clear. They were deputized by authorities, looted and burned the district, which was referred to as Black Wall Street. As many as 300 Black Tulsans were killed, and thousands of survivors were forced for a time in the internment camps overseen by the National Guard. This wasn't done on the back street. It was world news. The National Guard came out. I know there was a clip that was put out, I don't know, maybe about 6 months ago where I think it was it Tom Hanks? I think it was Tom Hanks who was saying he didn't know about Tulsa, Oklahoma until like last year or something. And he thought it was a travesty that America keeps these dark secrets about what's happened to other Americans. I'll continue. The two survivors of the attack, Leslie Benningfield Randall and Viola Fletcher, who are both now over 100 years old, sued in 2020 with the hope of seeing what their attorney called justice in their lifetime. A third plaintiff, Hughes Van Ellis, died last year at the age of 102. The court determined the plaintiff's allegations did not sufficiently support a claim for unjust enrichment, which is said are typically limited to contractual relationships. Other defendants in the case included the Tulsa Regional Chamber of Commerce, the Board of Tulsa County Commissioners, the Tulsa County Sheriff, and the Oklahoma Military Department. Yeah, they were all defendants. The lawsuit was brought under Oklahoma public nuisance law, arguing that the actions of the white mob continue to affect the city today. It contended that Tulsa's long history of racial division and tension stemmed from the massacre. Of course it did. I had an interview. I'm sorry, guys. I got to interject here. I had an interview with Reverend Robert Turner. He was on my channel. We talked about this. He is a citizen of Tulsa, Oklahoma. He's also a reverend, obviously, and a doctor, obviously. He came on my channel and talked about this extensively. It was so bad that the reverend, I think, is in his late 40s. When he was a kid, they wouldn't even talk about it. That's how bad this is. That's how much it's carried on. That when he was 40 years ago, 35 years ago, when he was coming up, when he was a child, Black parents still didn't want their kids to talk about it in public. Yet this court says, hey, man, nothing we can do about this. The actual survivors wanted reparations or recompense, and it was turned down. Let's finish this up. The city and insurance companies never compensated victims for their losses. The insurance companies would not even pay for the damaged property, for the destroyed businesses of Black citizens. And the massacre ultimately resulted in racial and economic disparities that still exist today. Yeah, obviously, if you had a thriving business in what's called the Black Wall Street, and then all of a sudden the next day you don't have a business, in fact, you don't have parents, yeah, that would call that an economic disparity. And the white businesses are just fine. And not even make more money because they got nobody to compete with, which was really the animus for this to begin with. They didn't enjoy the fact that there were Black people who were self-sufficient, who were doing for themselves. So they had to destroy it. The lawsuit argued a sort of detailed accounting of the property and the wealth lost or stolen in the massacre, the construction of a hospital in the North Tulsa, and the creation of a victims' compensation fund, amongst other things. It says here, the public nuisance claims are typically used to address local concerns like blighted homes, illegal drug dealing, or dangerous animals. Such claims were used in lawsuits that states brought against tobacco companies in the 90s. and against opiate drug makers, but many of those led to settlements rather than trials. Yeah, they went on to settle because it was obvious that what the ruling was going to be, because then, well, the money wasn't going to just black people. I mean, we're all going to be honest here, right? I mean, if there was a city or a city that's run by just black people, which don't exist, it's always a ceiling on that, where white people were massacred and their businesses looted and then burned to the ground. Do we really have to continue with this? Or what the hell? You wouldn't have to worry about any type of crazy verdicts coming back telling you that, oh, we can't do anything. There's nothing to do. In 2019, the Oklahoma Attorney General used this very same grounds, the public nuisance laws, in order to force opiate drug maker Johnson & Johnson to pay a whopping $465 million in damages. And then the Tulsa survivors brought their lawsuit in 2020 because they saw, oh, we're going to settle damages. This nuisance law worked for all the people who were damaged by what this company did. I wonder if this nuisance law will work because of what the city did and the state employees did and their part in what happened to us. And you know what they did? Well, the Oklahoma Supreme Court overturned their decision earlier 2 years later. So the Oklahoma, what I'm saying is they agreed to use this nuisance law to hit up Johnson & Johnson, but that set a precedence. And based on that precedence, a lawsuit was brought. And once they realized, we set a precedent and now they're bringing a lawsuit to help the blacks, let's reverse that precedent. And now we use that as a loophole to say we can't do it. All right. Let's get into it, fam. We good. We squared up. Okay, so this court ruling in Tulsa, it reminds us that racism, no matter what they try to tell you, no matter what Tim Scott comes out and tells you, no matter what any of these Republicans tell you, and regardless of what Joy Behar, people on The View tell you now, because I got a lot of Democrats. There are a number of Democrats that are very happy. They're running around saying how our justice system really works. Look what they did. They were able to convict a president. Yeah, but black people still can't get justice. Yeah, Donald Trump getting charged with a Class E felony for whatever the hell you wanted to be called this week has nothing to do with real justice in this country. That's not justice for us. That's justice for you, for your Democratic Party. Leslie Benningfield Randall and Viola Fletcher, over 100 years old, seeking compensation for what happened to them and their families. Because one of the major pushbacks, folks, is that, oh my God, you blacks want something for something that didn't happen to you. You want to be compensated. You didn't work in the fields, though we all know reparations ain't just about slavery. It's about 100 years of Jim Crow. It didn't end until like 1970. You know, what was legally justified to discriminate, because up until 1970, black people, unlike white people, didn't have civil rights in America. And they always use that loophole. Oh, but you weren't here when slavery happened. Okay, it's not about slavery. But this case shows you that even when the survivors, the literal people who were damaged by law enforcement authorities who deputized rednecks and whoever they were, and they all went out and they burnt down this black town, destroyed Black Wall Street, a thriving enclave of black businesses, killed over 300. We don't know exactly how many people died. It's estimated to be 300. Displaced probably thousands, surely thousands, surely thousands. No insurance, no nothing. Put them in internment camps and then told them to beat it, then relocate. And the ones that did stay because they had nowhere to go and had no money to go with had to live. Imagine the fear that you're living under when you're living in a place where that happened. And nothing happened. No one was brought to justice, not a single person. And do you know in that riot, that white mob went and got a plane and dropped bombs on that town? Yeah, this was before Pearl Harbor. There's been attacks on American soil by other Americans to other Americans. And when I say that, I mean Black Americans being attacked. Not a knockout punch game by some mentally incapacitated individual walking down the street that you like to play on X, Twitter. Thank you, Elon Musk, for all your philanthropic work of showing Black crime on your platform in repeat to get views, you scumbag. But no, we're talking about literal massacre that took place. The city of Tulsa and the insurance companies never compensated the victims for their immense loss. The lawsuits called for detailed accounting. We don't even know the actual dollar amount, the actual impact that this had. And remember, folks, when it's just so bad, you would think that Republicans would be on board with this. You would think Democrats would be on board with it. I mean, you think about it. Money that's put into the pockets of Black people who have been wrong specifically. What are they going to do with that money? Everybody ain't going to move to Ghana. They're going to spend that money right here in the U.S. economy. But it's just the idea that Black people might get something. Just the idea that Black people might get something. And my God, I'm white and it didn't happen to me, so where's mine? How dare you give them compensation for their family being massacred and their businesses burned to the ground by cops? That's unfair. And that's not everybody, because there's some good justice fighting people out here. But unfortunately, that's not the way our system runs. And the people that run our system aren't those people. Today is a sad, sad day, and it underscores everything we've been saying, everything we've been fighting about. So as we have one side, we got the Republicans trying to tell us, hey, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. What happens when you put ourselves up by our bootstraps and you cut the straps? And we catch you cutting the straps. It's documented you cut the straps. You ain't even got to pay for the bootstraps that you cut. And Democrats want to talk about Joe Biden's the best thing since sliced bread. These are the type of issues being handled. And we don't have a political party that's willing to do that. We got a political party that comes around every 4 years, pats us on the head, sits down and eats a chicken dinner with us, or goes to one of our churches for one day and sings off key, or like Joe Biden did in the Juneteenth celebration, looking like a deer in the headlights going, while we sing, and nothing changes. I don't know what to say, what else to say about this except you get what you pay for, America. It would be a beautiful thing, I think. Not just for the compensation, of course, compensating the 2 last living survivors of the Tulsa Massacre. That would be amazing. Wouldn't really be amazing. It would just be this thing called justice. It's like sort of just the right thing to do. But the amazing thing would be we could then be on the way to healing. The problem with America, one of the problems, because there's several problems. One of the main problems with America is they want us to heal without giving us the medicine. Justice is the medicine. I'm Tim Black. Join the Tim Black Wolf Pack, the Tim Black VIP, by going to jointimblack.com. We give it to you straight every time out. We go live 5 days a week. This is not the regular show. We got a show scheduled today at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come back here for the Tim Black Show where we'll run down a few stories. I got nothing but love for you, like I always say. Don't let nobody take your cornbread. I'll see you on the next one.